I'm Ogden City Mayor Ben Nadolski, and thanks for joining us here on the Ogden Way podcast, a place where we talk about the stories of resilience, the place where grit, determination, unity, that's the Ogden Way. The Ogden Way is an ethos. It's a spirit. It's a spirit that embodies us. We live it, we breathe it. It's everything to us here in this city. So we're here today to talk to two individuals, two leaders in this community, two names that everybody knows the last name, and now they get to know the faces, get to know some of the stories behind it. Steve Peterson, John Watson, thanks for joining us today on the Ogden Way podcast. It's a blessing to have you.
Our pleasure.
Our pleasure. Thank you for the invitation.
Yep. So if you've been in Ogden for a long time, you know the name Watson. Maybe you've bought a car there. You know the name Peterson. Peterson Inc. is an enormous anchor in our city. Let's start with you, Steve. Tell us just a little bit about who you are and what brings you to today.
Okay. Grew up in a little town called Far West, just outside of Ogden. Started working in Ogden when I was probably 15, 16 years old. I worked at the Bamboo Noodle and Safeway bagging groceries, and so I've grown up in Ogden. And a little bit about our business. I was a certified welder when I was 14 years old. Had a father that was very gifted, and we built a business around that, around welding. We expanded into machining and other things, and today they have about 600 employees. Here 10 years ago, I sold my business to my employees, so it's an employee-owned business. But we love Ogden, and it's all about making it better.
It is about making it better. And funny fact is, my first job was at Safeway bagging groceries as well. How about you, John?
Likewise, I come from a little community called Far West. Isn't that ironic that we both grew up out there? I've been in the automobile business for the last 50 years, and I've loved it. It's been great for my family. I've left Ogden at times to buy different dealerships, and I've had dealerships over in Wyoming and throughout Utah, and there's been no place quite like home. Mm-hmm. Ogden has been my home always. I've raised my family here. As a young man, I worked around all of the automobile dealers detailing their cars for a fellow that lived out in our community, and it's been a great way of life for me, and I love our employees. I love this city, and it's done so many good things for me.
I look forward to hearing the stories about you both growing up in Far West and you guys fighting each other as your kids. But
John was always bigger than me, so I never picked a fight with him.
You just said home. It's always about home, right? Ogden is home for you. You guys we've talked a lot outside of the podcast setting, and you told me stories about what brings you to home, what made you feel like Ogden was home, and then you share with me you're wanting to give back to home, right? What is it about Ogden that makes it feel like home for you guys?
Well, look around. There's no place on earth that's any more beautiful than what this little community in this valley. We have mountains on top of us. We can do anything in this community. And we're 15, 30 minutes from some of the most beautiful country in the world. The people are good. There's been great entrepreneurs in this community. It's been a place for great education. There's government installations that were always a help. And so Ogden, although sometimes people used to think that it was the second city in this state, Ogden truly has been one of the leaders. And I believe that's what's made it home for me and such an enticing place to raise my family.
Yeah, you touched on something that embodies the Ogden way. We've got kind of a chip on our shoulder because people they second guess us, they doubt us, right? And we never doubt ourselves. And we have a chip on our shoulder, and we are committed to proving them wrong. But more importantly, we prove ourselves right. Right?
That's a perfect way to say it.
It is absolutely in our soul, in this town. We are not the second city of the state. We are Ogden, right?
I love that.
I know. I do too. Steve, what is it about Ogden that makes you feel like home?
Well, I think my roots were here. My great-great-grandfather, Robert Anderson, right after the Transcontinental Railway came to Ogden, he got off the train here in the 1870s, and it was called Junction City then. And so my roots go back to early pioneer days when they came here and they built up businesses, and we've elected to stay here all of our lives. And Like John, I've had other ventures where I've lived in Arkansas, Tennessee. I've lived up in Wyoming, but I always come home because it's a place where my family loves. My family eats and breathes and drinks Ogden. Just this last year, we had the opportunity to work on the choo-choo train at the Christmas Village and have all my grandkids down there, the giving machines, and just everything about it has just focused us on how do we make Ogden a better place for all the citizens, not just a select few, but everyone.
It's like we had a script, and I promise to the listeners and the viewers, I promise we don't have a script. You just said exactly the right thing, because we are a community of opportunity, right? And we are a city of service. And that is the embodiment of our mission and our vision moving forward. The vision that I have heard from the people when I ran for this position, and the vision that I set for this city for 90,000 people, is that we want to be a community of opportunity, which means we need to create an environment that people can succeed in, and that they have access to the fundamental things they need to be successful in life. And that we've got to have a workforce that's rooted in service, and that they have a mission that dovetails and delivers for 90,000 residents in their journey to success in a community of opportunity. So that's what, when we talk about the Ogden Way, it embodies our mission, our vision, our core values, the fundamentals for human success. And we talk about it through this ethos of the Ogden Way. You two are both a story of the Ogden Way. You grew up in Far West, you did business, you grew up in Ogden, you always come back to Ogden. And Ogden's more than just Ogden City proper. It's a greater Ogden community, right? And so these values have to expand beyond our borders. We can't afford to just be a mayor of Ogden and nowhere else. We're all collective, right? As you guys have lived your lives, you've returned back and you're in a position now where you're serving in an LDS church mission, right? In a calling. And as part of that calling, this is where I really have gotten to know the two of you, is through service. And it's through the My Hometown initiative. Can you tell us a little bit about that, John?
Sure. And maybe I could just give you a little highlight of why we believe like we believe. My first job was down on 29th in Washington at a place called the Washmobile. It was a detail shop and had a service station there. And my next door neighbor and the father of a young man that was my best friend growing up as a kid. He taught integrity. He taught hard work, and I hate to say it, I wanted to go to the mountain and ski sometimes, and there was no way that was going to ever happen. On Saturdays, I worked, and on Sunday, he made sure that I went to church. Mm-hmm. I served an LDS mission into Mexico, came home and married my girlfriend that I'd had through high school. And so Ogden became really the nucleus of everything we wanted to do. I came home thinking that I wanted to be a lawyer, and I went to Weber State and found that maybe that didn't move fast enough for me, and so I jumped into the automobile business. But in the process, we learned some commitment and how to have progress in our lives and how to meet people and how to reach goals from this old guy that gave me my first job. And in doing so, it gave us opportunity to have some assignments that the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints offered us. Today, I'm privileged to serve as the chair of my hometown in Ogden, Utah. And we have 3 separate communities that are in the south, the west, and the north of this city. And we're having as many as 13 to 15,000 people from what you just said, our valley. It's not just all Ogden, but from our valley coming to help us do work on inner city Ogden. And we found how much we love the people in inner city. Some of them need help, and we're here to try to do that very thing.
So you've first of all, I'm glad you didn't become a lawyer, because you ended up building a business, an anchor business, and you ended up building opportunities for other people to have access to economic opportunity, right? And you built people by building a business, and those people helped build you into who you are. I'm sure you'd have done amazing things as a lawyer, right? But I'm really, really thankful for the pathway you chose. And
I get up every morning and say I'm the luckiest man on earth because I do what I love.
that's what I say. So you can't be the luckiest on earth. I am.
We're a couple of lucky guys then.
Yeah, I bet Steve says the same thing too, right?
I've been blessed.
We've been blessed. So the My Hometown Initiative, we're talking about a program within the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. I want to be really, really clear to the viewers and listeners. This is not a program that's only available, and it does not only serve LDS members. This is a program that includes everybody. Everyone participates. Everyone is served, no matter your faith or non-faith beliefs, right? So you've kind of outlined how that program came to be. Steve, can you tell us about what the program does? How does it serve Ogden?
Well, I think it goes really back to the very origins. 3.5 years ago, I came in to Mark Johnson and said, Mark, here's the parameters for my hometown. And as we explained what it was, I said, and it can't be a church program. You need to own the program, and we're going to assist you. We're going to get the interfaith groups, the service groups, all the other people that love Ogden to come and participate and really revitalize the inner city area where people have opportunity to learn languages. We work on immigration, just had 19 get citizenship going through our program. A little gal named Zalufa I met on a day of service, and she needed a little help just getting over the top. She was a refugee from Africa. She just got citizenship here 2 weeks ago. And for me, it's all about the people. So my hometown, what we do today, we have days of service, and many people that are watching this have probably come to one of those days of service. Our trademark, after we've gone out and rebuilt an area, and it could be a church of another faith, it could be botanical gardens, it could be the river walk, it could be just someone, a widow that needs a handicap ramp. We come together collectively and do those projects. And our trademark, after we've done that, we've worked together, we feed them street tacos. Mm-hmm. And John, how many street tacos we fed over the last 3.5 years?
I can't count that high.
It's probably like 50,000 tacos.
You can count that high.
Yeah.
But we love that piece of it, that's just revitalizing. Probably one of my favorite stories is we had 4 homes in a row, and it takes like 6 weeks to plan one of these events. And about a week before, they came to us and says, you don't need to come. And we had outlined, we had people coming in from the west and the east and the north and the south to help. And I said, Gene Stevens actually was on the met with them, and they said to Gene, we've done it ourselves. We came together, we saw what you've been doing, and the 4 families gathered other families, and we did it ourselves.
Wow, that's powerful.
And so really what my hometown is like a spark that ignites a wildfire. And we want to just keep feeding that fire within, because the people are good. Sometimes they don't have the resources or don't know how to get from A to B. And we're here to work. It's not a handout, it's a hand up.
So you mentioned Mark Johnson.
Yeah.
And I want to lift that up and call him out, because I remember the time that you guys came and first presented to us at the City Council work session. And Mark Johnson's a former CIO here at the city. He served here a lot of years, and he made a lot of difference and impact, and he'll have a long legacy. But I've long thought since taking this job that I think this will be his biggest legacy. And it's important, as we stand on the shoulders of leaders before us, that we recognize the progress that's been made as a community. We don't halt or stop things for political purpose or political gain. We pick up where it left off, and we carry it further, and we carry it higher. And I feel a tremendous sense of responsibility to turn that spark into a fire and into a raging inferno. And for me, when we talk about the Ogden Way and we talk about the vision and being a city of service and a community of opportunity, service is at the heart of everything. I was raised to believe that, and I've been raised by Ogden to believe it. I know it in my core. And in my experience, in my first year as mayor, starting my second, there is no better example of service and selfless service to others than the My Hometown program. Not in this city anyway. I'm sure there's other examples out there. I challenge them to find it. My Hometown is the example of service to others.
Right? Thank you, Mayor.
Yeah.
I'd like to add something that Steve said there, because it is the foundation of this community. We've watched so many people come together and for the first time know their neighbors, take pride in their home, love each other. And one of the things we could not have done is any of that without the help of Ogden City. And I know we have the mayor on our side. I know Mark Johnson was wonderful. Mayor Brown is right in the same step as he was. But so many of the employees of this city have stepped up and done things well beyond what they're asked to do to make
Absolutely.
my hometown what it is.
Mayor Brown is an absolute angel. She's Mayor Brown, current Ogden City CAO, working with me in my administration, is an angel. And we've got a lot of angels in our ranks. The employees of Ogden City, from code enforcement to volunteer services to Ogden PD to public works, you name it, this city is involved in this program.
They've become some of our dearest friends, and we consider them our dearest friends.
They speak in the same terms in these halls of this building about to me, that's what makes service so powerful, is the sense that if you serve others selflessly, you get this almost selfish return back, right? Call it the servant cycle. But I sent this to a message over the holidays that I thanked our staff for all the service that they do for people, and that we're impacting other people's lives. But if we pay really careful attention, we are impacting our own as well when we serve others, right?
Absolutely.
And I know the two of you, that service is in the center of your heart. Steve, will you tell us what does service mean to you?
Service is losing yourself in the work. It's forgetting who you are and what your wants are and focus on the needs of others. And service can come in all shapes and forms. Sometimes it's a handshake, it's a smile, but it's really that visualization of helping someone come up, helping them. And you can only help someone come up if you're on higher ground. And that's what I've noticed is we've gone inside Ogden City, inner city area that used to be very vibrant and then it got ran down. We want to return it to what it was when it started. And I think it starts with people. You know, we use the excuse of fixing up driveways and sidewalks and parks, but it's really people that we're focused on. Our community resource centers, we have 3 in Ogden, and we're just looking to open up a 4th. That's what we do there. That's where the people come and learn English or Spanish or learn how to sew or do electrical work or plumbing work. There's probably, 17, 18 courses we teach, and we'll teach whatever the people want that they need. Immigration became a top priority.
Self-reliance.
And there's already hundreds of great NGOs in Ogden, and we don't want to duplicate anything that they're doing. We want to get people to them. We want to be that connector that if they need to get an education at the Ogden Applied Technology College, they can get the training they need, professional training, but it's getting over that little hump of getting them over to where they can see, I can do that.
Connector. That was the word.
Yeah.
I use it all the time. I'm begging people for help to be a connector. And we're going to talk more about that. But what does it mean to be a connector, and how does this program help to connect people?
Well, I would take a stab at that because we've watched it for the last 3.5 years. As we go to people's homes, Mayor, sometimes the door only opens 2 inches.
Mm-hmm.
And once they see who we are and they start to understand what our desires are, and it isn't about us, it's about them. And yes, we're going to change some things maybe in their property, but what we really are going to do, we're going to change their hearts. And we connect with these people and recognize that they have so much to offer. And Steve mentioned that, this community has been a vibrant community. It's had some beautiful blocks in it and beautiful homes. And some of those maybe are in need of repair. But we connect with these people in a way that all of a sudden they've taken pride in this community. They say, just like we said as we sat down here today, we love Ogden City, and it's our home. And that connection is starting to reach across the street. That connection is going around the block, and it's changing people's lives.
It really is, including our own as we do that work. I have experienced when I've participated in the program, you might drive by a home and you might judge. You might think one thing or another about somebody based on the appearance of their home and the outside. What I've learned is that the person on the inside of that home almost always cares just as much about Ogden as I do.
Yeah.
And they're just in a different place in their life. And what we see on the outside and often, unfortunately, judge them for is just a reflection of where they're at right now. And that thing is a weight on them that they are struggling to carry. It's a burden that they're struggling to carry, right? And it just sort of manifests in the appearance of a home. And so kind of all gets back to their spirit. You know, they might be struggling with their spirit and with their energy and their will to drive and to lift themselves. But when you guys show up, you change that. You change that energy. And our staff, we are transforming our code enforcement staff from being a quote, policing group. Instead of being a policing group, they drive around town and they look for need, right? They find need and they connect needs with resource. And so the code enforcement has become a really good avenue for identifying people who need your help, right?
They've been fabulous.
They really have.
And so,
you know, one of the things a thought that came to me as you were talking was there's a German philosopher named Goethe, and he said this: if you treat a man as he is, he'll remain as he is. But if you treat a man as he should be and ought to be, he will become what he should be and ought to be. And sometimes we have to see in them that which they cannot see in themselves. And probably the biggest part of what we do, John and I have done in our lives, is we take employees or we take volunteer groups that we're over, and we help paint a vision for them. This is what you can have. And I'll just share a quick experience with John. John was that for me. He was 18. Well, you were 22 years old. He came home from a mission. I was 17, and our group of kids were a little struggling and having our issues. And he just came into the rescue and really saved my life. And he did it through a car. I had a 69 Cougar, and he helped me prime it, paint it, and made it into a show car. And we have been best friends for 50 plus years. And done business together. We've owned things together, companies together. And it all started because he showed some interest in a 17-year-old boy that was struggling.
we all need a John Watts in our lives.
We do.
In fact, when we talked, you guys had a coach in your life that made an impact like that, right? And I shared the story of Ron Vick in my life, right?
We did. And may I say that he changed my life. Because when we serve someone, it affects us. You've mentioned that already.
Selfless service to others is the most selfish thing you can do.
Absolutely. The coach in our life was an old farm guy, and he brought us together.
Ex-Green Beret.
Yep. Tough as nails, not a big guy, but none of us wanted to try to compete against him.
Sure.
He taught us to box. He taught us to climb a rope in a gym without our feet and just our hands and pure strength. He taught us how to be gentlemen. He taught us etiquette. He taught us integrity. He taught us goodness. He taught us honesty. And what Steve said is so important, that he gave us a vision. There's a saying in Proverbs that says, people without vision perish. He gave us a vision of wanting to be somebody in something and contribute to a community. And that old coach, I can't tell you how many men he's affected because of what he did for men. And if we don't take part of that and recognize it and try to do the same for others, shame on us.
Yeah, I think we all have an obligation.
His name is Alton Griffin. And Alton was an amazing man, and his son now is an executive director in my hometown on the Ogden South Side.
Oh, no kidding.
Mm-hmm. And so we all owe Alton a lot.
We have got to be America's biggest small town, right?
That's right.
There's a lot of connections.
We're like a big city, yet we're so small because we're so connected,
Yep.
right? And getting back to connector, but you said vision too. And I take a lot of responsibility around vision for the city as the mayor. But it's more than just me saying what the vision is and then trying to push or cajole people into following that vision. The vision that we've come up with is a vision that we've heard from the people. We heard it through the campaign trail. We hear it in our daily service, and we've heard it through formal mechanisms, through general plan amendments and so on. We've gotten feedback, and people want to have a vision that is about creating an environment that supports opportunities and success for people. We want to be connected to each other, right?
Absolutely.
And we all owe it to each other to have a vision as a city and a community, but to give one another vision through our service with and for one another. And I really appreciate and want to thank the two of you, but also the church, for being that model and that example for so many. And as a non-member raised Catholic, the church has wrapped their arms around me as well as a leader in our community. And I've been amazed at how inclusive the church has been for me and for us. I've seen more acts of service and kindness out of the church than anyone would ever know exists, because you're not after accolades. You're after impact, right? Impact in lives. And I just can't think of a better example of service than the two of you in the My Hometown program and the lessons that it's teaching our people in our city, but also the employees of the city. So I really appreciate you guys recognizing that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So when you guys do a project like that, tell us what it takes to prepare for it, and some specifics of what those projects are like on the ground.
It's a big job, and it takes a lot of hands to do it. We would have, being specific, about 230 missionaries that are called to be helpers in this process. Of those missionaries, there's a few of them that are executive directors and associate directors that all come together. And we start to make a plan on location, number of projects, what they need. And before we ever start one of these, and Steve said 6 weeks, sometimes we're out easily a couple months to try to pull everything together with equipment and the things that we need to do. And then we invite volunteers, because even that size of group cannot get done what has to be done on a given Saturday when we start a day of service. And so we bring 250 volunteers from different stakes around the valley, and we'd have probably 6 stakes participating on a given Saturday. And with that, they go out, they register people, they get waivers for homeowners that we can do the work.
Safety training?
Safety training is done on site. We sign up and know the people who are there, and then we go to work. And when you see that, it is almost mind-boggling that families come together and you have a family, a father, a mother, 4 or 5 kids with them, down to the age of 8 or 9 years old, up to the age of 17, 18 years old. And they all put their shoulder to the wheel and they work and make a difference. The night before that, I can tell you inside, my stomach's tumbling over. I sort of have sleepless nights the night before that day of service because you want it to come off. Mm-hmm. And you want the weather to be good. And I can tell you in 3.5 years, I've looked at those mountains and thought, it is threatening today. We will not be able to pull this off. And there's never been a delay in this city on doing a day of service because of weather or things of that nature.
I can tell you that when or if that ever comes, it will still happen.
We will be there, I can promise you.
And Ogden people will make it happen, because that's what we do. That is the Ogden way. Yeah. And you know what else is Ogden way? Is you talked about all that coordination. You know what else is happening while you're getting all the materials and the supplies and the planning and logistics? Is much before that, like I said, we have code enforcement out and employees, and we have volunteer coordinators and identifying the need instead of putting a ticket on someone's door and saying, mow your lawn. Well, what if it's an elderly woman that doesn't have the ability and is not surrounded by family and loved ones? That's where we step in. Code enforcement knows on the individual level when there's a need, connects that need with the resource, right? And then on the back end, you guys are developing site plans. Our staff are facilitating, serving success for others by reviewing and approving the site plans, making sure that they are going to beautify our city, right?
Mayor, we have, starting in April, we have a meeting with this city every other week. And those executive directors come.
Yep.
Your employee force comes. And it is a meeting that we really talk about all of those things. And the city comes together and works as hard about getting this project done as our people work. And it's an effort that is connected in a way that I've never seen it done before.
I don't think it can be done anywhere else like it is here because there's only one Ogden.
And can I pay you that compliment?
Oh, thank you.
You are the envy of all the other my hometowns in the Utah area. They say, don't compare us with Ogden, but you've done something very special with us that has made this work.
Well, and getting back to the legacy of those that come before us too, we all pick it up and we move it forward and build it up and lift it up, right? So the Ogden way, it's so powerful because you guys have shared stories of investing in people. You build community by building people. That was my mantra in my campaign. I meant it. This is what I meant. And you've found need, you lift others. They are doing the lifting for themselves to the best of the ability that they can, right? And we are surrounding them and wrapping our arms around them and helping them lift. And in so doing, we're lifting ourselves, right? And it manifests itself outwardly. We are lifting and rising as a city and a community together. This program is so powerful in so many ways, right? Remember the tagline, we're a city of service and a community of opportunity, right? It all comes down to service. It comes down to collaboration. We as a city, as employees, are on a mission to always be service-oriented and facilitating success. That's what we're doing for you and your program. We're trying to replicate that everywhere. We're always going to have missteps because we're human. But that's why it's hard to build communities. It's never easy. But that's what we're doing. We're doing it with you guys, right? I want to get back to this notion of connector and connecting. I want to connect some dots that leads to today and leads to you too. In prior episodes, we had guests. One of those guests was Dolores Banks Green. She connected me with the Black Student Union at Ben Lomond High School, now named the Urban Student Alliance. They connected me with the reality that their students are feeling a sense of hopelessness. Because they shared that message with me, I was able to share it with you, connectors in our city, connectors resource. Let's talk a little bit about what we've worked on together since the time that I shared that message of hopelessness with them on the north side of town, and the opportunities you guys have been able to bring to the table and what we're going to build moving forward, okay? Does anybody want to
I'll
start with
jump in
Steve?
on that. You know, our vision statement for my hometown is listen, love, and lift. And we want you to know when we have met, we've been listening what these needs are. And I think in one area we've come up short. We focused on days of service, our community resource centers that are more on the adult side. And now I think we're going to expand our vision to really focus on the youth. And we've named it Youth Impact, or Youth, what did I call it? YIA. Anyway, youth, it'll impact the youth. We got like Youth Impact here. We've got Boys and Girls Club, and they can only do so much. They're limited on how many students. What our focus wants to be is how can we take those kids at Ben Lomond High School that are feeling hopelessness and do what John did for me, or what Alton Griffin did for John. And we need a location, and we found a location, and we have an LOI. We're real close to getting this facility, and it will be a true partnership, just like my hometown is with Ogden. It'll be a partnership between Ogden and my hometown, how we bring those kids in, help them with their homework, how we can help them see the vision of what they can become. I kind of compare it to how my dad taught me how to weld. He taught me the most very difficult type of welding when I was 12 years old, and it's called heliarc welding or TIG welding. And he didn't just give me a book and say, okay, here's the book, you read it. And he put his arms around me. He put his hand on my right hand, on my left hand. We struck an arc, we dropped the hood, and he said, "Do you see it?" And I said, "What?" He said, "The puddle." I said, "I don't know what you're talking about, Dad." Well, this goes on for 3 or 4 times. And finally, one day I saw it, a shiny little puddle, and I started adding the filler material, and I was welding. And that's almost 60 years ago. And I'm hooked on it today because he took the time to put his arms around me and show me, not just tell me, but show me how I could have a better life. And there's an interesting thing about welding. When you take 2 pieces of metal and you put them together, and if it's done properly, that weld is stronger than the parent metal itself. And that's how we can do this with these youth, these kids at Ben Lomond High School that are struggling with hopelessness. Bring them into a facility. We might even feed them. We might help them with their homework, and then we'll give them a vision of what they can become and let them catch that vision and take control of their own lives. And then we step back and assist them, but it's giving them that vision of what they can do.
Right? Vision, connector, service, collaboration, lift, love, listen. These are all the things that we always do. Are all the things that embody the ethos and the spirit of the Ogden Way. You know, we are building this building and this opportunity right now, right? Great things are going to come. I know it. We're going to have a great name for it. We're going to have a great, set of services within it. But the important thing to remember is that as the mayor, I'm a connector, right? As John Watson, you're a connector. As Steve Peterson, you're a connector. We're all connectors. And we can't afford to not be. And as connectors, we've got to connect with one another and lift each other and help them find what they're looking for to succeed. The opportunities are abundant in this city. They're out there. There are impediments for people. We're at every level, from the highest peak of success to the lowest lows of human survival and everything in between. And we've got to be an army of people, of servants, that reaches up, down, and all around in order to find those people that need that. And they've got to have that sense of urgency for themselves to do the work and invest in themselves. But it helps so much to return that spirit to them when they know that they're not alone. So I want to thank you guys for being those kinds of men. I thank the church for being that kind of a church and that kind of faith. And for being a faith that invited all the other faiths to the table. Remember, this is not just about the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. You mentioned the Interfaith Council. We have an Interfaith Council of so many rich and diverse spiritual practices in this city, right? We all come together to lift one another. This is the Ogden Way. This is a beautiful town. As we wrap up, I want to make sure that we highlight the fact, one, you're wearing the Ogden Way gear. Thank you for repping the brand. You guys look amazing. Thank you for being here. Thank you for being connectors, being servants, for being selfless, for having such loving and kind and caring hearts. To anybody that's listening, please go out and subscribe, share, visit the links that are on the page. Learn more about the Ogden Way. Learn more about the My Hometown Initiative. Learn more about what you can do to get involved and get connected and be a connector. That's how we build a community. We can build buildings and build infrastructure, but that's just building a city. We are here to build community. You build community by building people that use that infrastructure and populate those buildings. That is the Ogden Way.
Mayor, we owe you a great deal of thanks for this. Thank you for the opportunity of letting us be here, and thanks for the support that you give us. I love what you've said this evening, and this is fantastic.
Well, thank you. And thank you, Steve, for being here. Let's finish for our call to action for the day. It's always to go out and to get out and be a connector. The connection was Dolores Banks Green, Black Student Union Sense of Hopelessness, My Hometown Initiative through John Watson and Steve Peterson, a community facility that's provided and supported by the church that we're going to fill with kids from every faith in every nation, from every neighborhood of the city, with the focus on the north, because that's what we heard. We listened, right? We loved them. We are going to do the work to lift them. That is the Ogden Way. Thank you so much, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Really appreciate you coming.
Appreciate it. We're in it for the long haul.
We have to be.
Yep.
We're never done. building community never ends.
Never.
So until next time, thank you for joining us here on the Ogden Way podcast. Get out there, get involved, be a connector, lift yourself, lift others. Thank you so much, Ogden. Until next time.